Everybody, I have been saving up my legendary card pack tickets since the start of the game. We just got 3 more recently, completely for free from Cygames, 3 more legendary card packs. And the game also starts you out with 2 for free from completing lobby missions and other stuff that you get at the beginning of the game. All right, so we're getting at least 5 guaranteed legendaries today. Let's open these packs. And as I'm opening them, I want to also talk a little bit about all the monetization controversy stuff as we're opening these packs up. This is going to be one of the most influential episodes for those of you watching my free-to-play Zero to Hero series. Okay, all right. Okay, the first card. Is this going to be a double legendary pack, y'all? Whoa, okay. Oh my gosh, we already got. Oh man, y'all. I don't know if my luck is like above average or what. This is my 3rd pack with 2 or more legendaries in it. This is my 2nd time opening Garyu, the Fable Dragonkin, so that's pretty nice for Dragoncraft. Dragoncraft seems like a fun deck to play. And then I think this is the Havencraft, right? Yeah, I've lost to this a bunch of times. Deal 6 damage to all enemies and give buff your allied followers by a lot. This girl is absolutely insane, I'm pretty sure. Wow, okay, absolutely massive opens already so far. So first of all, for those of you who've been living on a rock, what is the kind of controversy going on right now with Shadowverse Worlds Beyond? As we open up yet another guaranteed legendary card pack here. All right, so we're up to 6 guaranteed legendaries that we're going to get now from this. The long story short of it, for those been living under a rock, you know, the game has been negative reviewed into oblivion. At one point, it was like the lowest rated game on Steam. And the long story short of it is people think that Cygames has been too greedy. Wow, I'm surprised that's my first Divine Thunder. All right, finally got one of those. It is true that as you open up these legendary cards that you get, they end up being kind of split up among the classes. And the other thing is the legendary cards are so much better than like a lot of the non-legendary cards. So it feels like you basically kind of have no choice. You have to have the legendary cards or you basically can't really compete. And then you couple that with the fact that it's basically harder to craft legendary cards. You need like 3, 6, or even 9, or even more than that, maybe 12 legendaries for certain specific deck. They're harder to craft. When you do the dailies, you only get like half a pack's worth of gold. So you basically combine all this stuff together. By the way, most of these reviews came on like day 1 of the game. And you know, half of those people, like, I don't even know if they were doing like their park missions. You actually get a decent amount of both currency, gold cards, a lot of stuff from park missions. All right, everybody, what is the next legendary going to be? Okay, it is going to be the Opulent Rose Queen. I have actually still to this day never seen this card used before. Let's actually read it. Okay, 9 cost. That's pretty high. Forestcraft Fanfare. Transform all Forestcraft cards in your hand that cost 1 or less into copies of Brambleburst. All right, what does Brambleburst do? Select an enemy follower on the field. Wow, or the enemy leader and deal it 3 damage. Whoa, that's pretty cool. So basically probably just build up your hand and then just kill your opponent. I don't know if this card's going to be actually good. What do y'all think? For 9 mana and then it takes a full nother turn and it's only a 6/6 with word, it takes a whole nother turn to basically then fully blast your opponent out. I have a feeling I'm probably not going to play a lot of Forestcraft, I guess, unless I open up a whole bunch of legendaries in these next couple packs. The aesthetic doesn't really, you know, do it for me, and I don't know that it's really my place. I never really played elves in Magic the Gathering, which is what it reminds me of, and I never really played green in Magic the Gathering. So yeah, you basically combine all of these changes that basically make it kind of, you know, harder to get stuff. Can't disenchant legendaries that you have less than 3 of. And you just add all this together and, well, people are quite upset about it because they just feel like, you know, the company got too greedy. So was the company actually too greedy or not? And y'all, I'm going to probably, as I often do when I make YouTube videos, basically kind of make everybody angry on both sides because I'm going to take kind of a little bit of a moderate stance for now. And obviously my position may change as, ooh, that's the first time getting that one. My position may change as the game evolves. Like, I'm going to wait until I kind of feel like I have enough data to really like have a firm stance on it. I think it's going to take easily anywhere between 1 to 2 to 3 months to really be sure about how greedy the game is going to feel, especially as we keep getting more and more expansions. Because y'all, being perfectly, completely honest right now, the game has only been out for like a little bit over a week or so when I'm recording this, and my collection is really not feeling too bad. And I feel like I'm already ready to basically fully craft a competitive deck at this point. And I don't feel like my luck has been like absolutely insane or anything. I have probably had above average luck, but I don't think it's been like crazy or anything. And even if my luck hadn't been above average, I'm gonna show you at the end of this video like where my collection is sitting, and I still have a bunch of resources I haven't used, and basically show you how I could pretty much craft what I think is going to be like a tier 1 deck. Okay, let's take a quick peek at these. Forte Blackwing Dragoon. I'm very, very, very happy to open this card. I think this card is like the free-to-play player's best friend, to be honest. And that's another thing too, you know, if you're playing free-to-play, I'm sure this isn't going to be the last time I talk about this in a video of, you know, whether the game is greedy or not and playing free-to-play style. Beggars can't be choosers, everybody, all right? That is going to be like our number one repeated slogan for trying to be free to play and what you think about the game. You have to take what the game gives you, and that's what you get. You don't get to play every single thing in the game. You got to roll with the punches of the cards you open. And y'all, like, control style oriented decks have always been in every card game I've ever played the more expensive deck, because most legendaries are like higher costed cards. They're not like 1 cost and 2 cost cards. If you want to play like a face aggro deck, you're going to be playing a bunch of like 1, 2, 3, 4 cost stuff. So if you come in and you're like, I demand to play like the strongest control deck, and those probably have like 10 to 15 legendaries potentially, well then yeah, you're going to be unhappy, and that's just not how life works. I'm sorry to have to tell you that. Let's look at this Godwin staff. I don't think I've ever seen this one either. At the end of your turn, combo 3, draw a card. Pretty interesting. Engage, destroy this, and select another allied card on the field and return it to hand. That's really interesting, isn't it? Honestly, I don't think anybody's ever played it against me, but I may try to run it. Might try to do something interesting with that there. All right, cool. Got the Forte Blackwing Dragoon emblem. I kind of like that they give you little emblems when you open the legendaries. All right, let's get our next one here. So yeah, if you're totally free to play, what's fair to request? And even before that, let me make one point that I think is really important. Every single one of these card games, there is a push and pull between the developer and between the players. The players basically want to get everything for free, pay as little as possible, or pay nothing and get as much as possible. And that's totally fine. That's just human nature, right? And then you have the companies, and they're the ones actually doing this as their job, and they need to make money to support the game and to make it make sense to actually have the game exist and support the game and have it continue. And so you basically have this kind of infinitely long push and pull between the devs and the players of basically the devs want to make as much money as possible and the players want to spend as least money as possible, right? All right, let's see what this legendary is going to be. Ooh, okay, Medusa. I'm actually pretty happy to get a Medusa, to be honest, because I've actually really been enjoying Abysscraft. When you start with just the default Abysscraft cards, I think it's actually the worst deck to play in the game when you first start. But once you start building it up and getting some legendaries, it's been really not feeling too bad for me, and it's been actually really fun. And of course, going back to what people are complaining about, if you don't have, like, for example, Medusa, you're so badly depowering your deck, playing such a suboptimal version if you don't have this Medusa card, right? Can attack 3 times, it's got Rush, guaranteed to destroy the opposing follower. Pair this with a super evolve, it's just absolutely nuts. Like 3 guaranteed damage, guaranteed to clear their board, and then you end up with a 6/10 who can attack 3 times the next turn if they can't kill it. It's completely broken. Are the legendaries overall, which relates to this whole thing because they're so mandatory, are they kind of overpowered in this game? In my opinion, yes they are. All right, and so don't be surprised to see me make another video, in a couple weeks or in a month or whatever, and say, all right, everybody, given like 2 months of history of how much free stuff we get in the game, and given how overpowered legendaries are, is the game just totally overly greedy and you don't have any chance to do anything and you have to spend like $1 million to keep up with it? That video may come, y'all, and that could end up being my decision. But after we open this 5th guaranteed legendary pack, I want to just show you my collection and show you where, at least in the current state of the game, in my opinion, as a free-to-play player, like, I don't know that I can see any way that you can't build at least 1 competitive deck, at least 1, if not maybe even 2, like by the end of this first month, because I haven't spent a single penny, and I'm going to show you where I'm at, and I still got a ton of resources left, and like, there's no doubt I'm going to be able to build something. Wow. See, there you go right there. Okay, that's 2 Forte Blackwing Dragoons. I feel pretty confident that you can build like an aggro kind of totally just go face Dragoncraft deck, and you can absolutely compete, I have a feeling with. In fact, I may do that, and I'm actually really happy to open 2 of these Forte Blackwing Dragoons, not even gonna lie, because I feel like this is gonna totally speed up the process of like completing your daily missions and stuff. I actually said, if you watch any of my past videos, multiple times, that I was really hoping to and wanted to build one of these kind of face rush, pure hyper aggro, all in, all out Dragoncraft decks, and that's gonna get me a long way there. All right, so those are my 5 legendary packs. Let's take a quick look at my collection, everybody, and see. So like I said, it's just always going to be this push and pull through the developers, between the developers and the players. What is this? With a card style, you can change the appearance of applicable cards. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I've seen a little bit. Some of the rewards you get. You can set the style of a card from its details. Oh, wow. You can even set the toke style. That's actually really cool. I like that as like a fun little reward that they could give out to people. And then you can do it for a specific deck. So look at this, everybody. I've been playing this game only for been like a little bit over maybe a week and a half or something that I'm recording this. And I've already got 5,000 vials. All right. The cost to craft a legendary. So let's say I wanted to craft my 3rd copy of that one that I just got. Let's just go ahead and filter down to our legendaries. And okay, they are called legendaries in this game. I wasn't actually sure. Okay, so it's bronze, silver, gold, and legendaries. Just filter down to my legendaries. I've still got somewhere like 30 to 40 more packs that I'm going to be able to open just sitting in the resources on my account. I've got like almost 15,000 gold and 10 more packs. So that's like an additional 4 legendaries. So let's see how many we got here. This card on the top left, this was the first one I got. I'm pretty sure you get a guaranteed premium legendary when you open your first pack in the game. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 legendaries. And I'm going to get at least 4 more, I would say. So we're looking at 20 plus legendaries just in the first couple weeks of the game. 20 plus legendaries. Let me say it again, 20 plus legendaries just in the first week of the game, completely free to play. Now, people aren't happy because, as you notice, if you look at these, they are very spread out throughout the classes. And so I don't just have like two to three perfect competitive deck. Like, for example, if I wanted to play Swordcraft, I would say I would need 3 of this Albert guy, Albert or whatever, and then probably a couple of these Amelia Silver Captains. I don't know that the 3-drop is really that necessary. Okay, but I've already got 5,000 vials, and I think I liquefied recently. Let me check, auto liquefy. Okay, and then I've got another 1620. So we're basically already at the 7,000 it would take for me to craft 2 more legendaries. So let's say I wanted to go Swordcraft. If I went here, you definitely are going to need 3 of this guy. It's going to take 3,500 vials, craft any legendary. So I need 7,000 to get 2 more. So I'm basically there. Like, once I open up the more pack, in fact, I think to end this video out, we'll open 10 more packs as well. I don't know, maybe, or you can consider subscribing if you kind of enjoy watching and following along a free-to-play player as they kind of go from the bottom to the top. I've been making these kind of interesting little challenge videos where I basically open 10 packs and I kind of force to use whatever legendary I get. So do consider subscribing. And if you find this discussion style interesting as well, I do plan on making these pretty regularly. So consider subscribing and helping the algorithm with a like, comment, and subscribe, yada, yada. You know the drill. So let's say I wanted to build a Swordcraft and have basically all the necessary legendaries. To be honest, I think I'm basically already there. So I've already opened 1 Albert. And again, you got to roll with what you got. So I got 2 Swordcraft Legends. If I had 0 Swordcraft Legends, maybe I wouldn't be able to play Swordcraft. So I've got the Albert, I've got the Amelia. I definitely am going to need, I think, 3 Albert. I think you have to have 3 of this to play the best Swordcraft deck. But here's the thing also, you also get a free legendary that if you're smart, if you're playing free to play, you have to be a little bit smarter and more careful with your resource management. Again, consider subscribing to my channel because I talk about all this stuff. If you go through all my videos, I talk about what I think is like the optimal resource management. So I still have not taken this free starter deck that you get. A bunch of these starter decks have really strong cards. This Portalcraft deck has a card that people keep saying is going to potentially get nerfed because it's so strong. Okay, you get one for free. So if you happen to open good Portal cards, you could then finish that deck off by taking that potentially if you need one more. All right, and the same thing is going to be true of Swordcraft because if I keep going to the Officer Swordcraft deck, whoops, let me go back by one. All right, why can't this little eye? Come on. All right, there we go. If we go to the Swordcraft deck, you get one of these free Albert cards. So if once I open up the cards, you got to be more careful and more thoughtful as free to play. That's giving me 2 of them. So now all I have to do is craft 1 and I've already got the full 3. And again, I'm still going to open like 10 or 20 or 30 more packs, still giving me a chance to potentially open like 2 naturally. And then I'll just get my 3rd from the starter deck. And then I'll use my remaining resources. There's still a decent chance I will open one of those 2 Swordcraft legends that I need. And I don't know that even that 3-drop legend is even so necessary in Swordcraft. So if you want to craft one of the best Swordcrafts in the deck that you can definitely get to the highest rank with. In fact, I saw somebody on Reddit post that they went to the highest rank free to play with Swordcraft. Big surprise. It doesn't surprise me because I always thought Swordcraft was one of the best free to play. One final look here at my collection, these legendaries. So there's like a very good chance that I'm going to be able to play that. Now, contrast that with, for example, Runecraft. All I've got for Runecraft is I've got one of this Quan. I could get another one from the starter deck. If I get really lucky and open up a bunch of Runecraft legendaries in my next packs, maybe I could play Runecraft. But I think Runecraft is going to be an example of a class where you're probably going to need a lot of legendaries. It's like a lot of the versions are like hardcore kind of control oriented decks, combo, and they just play a lot of legendaries. You need like 3-dimension climbs, 3 of this guy. And then I'll bet you probably most lists are going to run several more legendaries. That might be like a 10 to 15 legendary deck, depending on how you play it. Dragoncraft, I think, is probably going to be the same. If you want to play ramp Dragoncraft, then what are you going to be doing? You're going to be spending 3 mana to ramp up, or 4 mana with that gold card to ramp up. And then you're going to be playing a bunch of, late game guys like a Garyu. You might, I don't know, maybe run 3 of those. You may run one of this ruler card, which fortunately I managed to open, but maybe you need 2 of those to fill out the deck. And then you probably need a bunch of those other, higher drops. Like there's the neutral, I think it costs 7, draw 2, and do a bunch of other stuff. That's probably going to be loaded up with legendaries because that's how card games work. They usually like to shove a lot of the legendaries in the higher up cost. Look at all the costs of these legendaries, everybody. There's only 2 that cost 3, everything else, then there's 1 that's 5, and then everything is 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So is this game too greedy? Can you actually play it as free to play? Like, how bad really is the situation right now? I'm going to be honest with y'all. I think the situation, let me give kind of my final take on this. I think the situation is not really so bad. It's not terrible. We have to basically decide in this struggle, in this, kind of battle of players wanting things for free and devs wanting to make money. We have to kind of define like a decent middle ground of like what's reasonable to expect as a free to play player. I think that if you can craft at least one deck with like pretty high probability as a free to play player, that you can craft like one competitive deck that you can play with, enjoy the game to the fullest, and get to the highest rank, which again, for me is probably going to be Swordcraft. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, as long as you open like a couple of these Swordcraft legends, the 5 or the 6 drop, I can pretty much guarantee like this is just going to be like a great starting deck for anybody to probably get to the highest rank and enjoy the game and get, do everything you want to do in the game. As long as a free to play player can build like one of these types of deck, I think you're at least in like decent starting position because, there's so many of these crappy gacha gacha games now where there's literally nothing you can do to compete with anyone as a free-to-play player. In fact, you can't even compete at the highest level with anyone unless you spend like, thousands of dollars in some of these absolutely insane, crazy games. Here, to be honest, like I'm not really seeing that. To me, I'm seeing a game where if you want to play free-to-play, I think that like with pretty high probability, you're going to be able to deterministically end up with some kind of deck that you can get to the highest rank in the game with if you're actually good at the game also. And I don't even think you necessarily have to, build a bad deck. I think you'd have to probably be relatively unlucky. Again, look at me. I've still got so many packs open and if I liquefy my cards, I'm already at 2 legends that I can craft totally deterministically. So basically figure out like the best deck that you also are going to enjoy and find fun to play that just doesn't require so many legendaries. There's going to be decks like that in this game, I'm sure. So the game, it's not like terrible. Is it still kind of going to be pretty rough for free to play? I would say yes, it's probably going to be a little bit on the rougher side for free to play, to be honest. But even then, like I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this first month, I'm able to craft like 2 pretty full, solid, totally competitive decks that I could have got to the highest rank with. And I think if you're playing free to play and you can get 2 full decks that can compete at the highest levels, I feel like that's basically a relatively good level, to be honest. So like my full review, honestly, when I'm ready to like be sure about it, maybe that the game is not too bad. Now the problem here is that we're going to end up getting 2 full new sets back-to-back months. Month 2, we're going to get another full set. So again, look at my resources here. I got 14. So this is 30 packs and I've got 10 more pack tickets. So that's 40 packs. I'm going to get a lot more vials. I'll probably be able to craft 3 legendaries. Apparently the number of legendaries is going to double for the next set. So my final determination is going to come, 1 to 2 to 3 months down the road after we've had like 2 more back-to-back months of new sets. If they don't give like a pretty decent amount of resources over the next 2 months, then I think the game could end up, totally justifying all of these negative reviews, and it's going to be like in a pretty bad place. And there's basically going to be no free to play viability whatsoever, especially if the legendaries stay so strong. Because, if we're just relying on like these free dailies, like they're fine and good. You also get the free pack once a day, which I think the free pack once a day might actually be pretty bad since you don't get it on the pity timer. Like that's probably just not going to be enough. So they are going to have to like make sure that they're still doing enough events and freebies and giveaways to at least make it, reasonable and halfway decent. So that'll be kind of the final test. So to summarize this video, here's my kind of final thoughts for now. Number 1, I didn't mention this, but I'm actually really enjoying the game and having fun with the game. And I think the base gameplay is absolutely fantastic. So that's really nice. And I actually have a feeling I'm going to be playing this game for quite a while. I'm going to be covering on YouTube. Again, feel free to subscribe if you want to follow along the journey. I'm going to stay free to play until further notice. And I'm going to kind of wait and see how things shake out to see, because I don't really want to invest in a game that I know I'm going to quit if it's like a card game. If I know I'm going to quit and I know that the devs are too greedy, I'm not going to do it. And for me, that decision has not been made yet. All right, is the game like absolutely packed to the gills with like really annoying monetization stuff that honestly just feels kind of bad? Like these battle passes, like sooner or later, people got to just get tired of this crap, making you pay for something and then you don't actually get what you pay for. And then you have to like jump through hoops to actually get the stuff that you paid money for. And then after you pay money, they try to literally get you to pay money to try to get the things that you paid money for. It's like almost hard for me to even believe that this exists. You pay money for a battle pass and then they charge you 100 crystals to try to advance your battle pass level, because you might spend the money and then realize that you're not even going to get the reward that you paid for. So then you have to spend more money to get it. I mean, I hate this junk, and typically I just run away from games that have this kind of stuff because I'm just tired of it. I've seen it enough times. It's just tiring. Like even the daily mission system is so tiring and exhausting in this game. It feels like absolute garbage, to be honest. Like the fact that you only get to store for 1 day and then they're all on like independent timers. It's absolute garbage. So like, does Cygames fill this game with totally garbage bullcrap stuff? 100%. And I absolutely don't like it at all. In fact, I feel like people really aren't complaining about stuff like these daily missions enough. To me, this is literally like the worst part of the game is this daily mission thing. Like it's just so poorly designed and annoying, and it's going to just be totally exhausting if you want to actually keep up with it. It doesn't matter if you're free to play or paying. Like you're still going to know that you're missing free resources. I mean, unless you're like a millionaire, for most people spending hundreds of dollars regularly on a game is like pretty decent expense no matter who you are. And knowing that just like every day you're potentially missing these unless you kind of build your schedule around it and it's just really annoying and you probably don't have time to do it. That's just annoying. Like just don't annoy people with this stuff. And and then you go to the shop and it's just like, I can't even figure out like what's even going on in the shop half the time, to be honest. Like there's just so many different things for sale for so many different prices. And like, even when you go to these items, like you can't even click on the item to find out what it does. Okay, well, actually I was wrong about that. You can, there's an I, but there's so many different resources, so many different things, sales, different things at different prices and different sales. Okay, like, so what was this? There's some kind of special resource I have to go buy in a separate tab. Do we really need so many different resources and all this stuff? Why do they do it? it, and then there's different bundles. So I mean, how long would it take me to even figure out like which one of these different things are the right value and how much value you're getting, what I should buy? I mean, it would probably take me hours to even just go through all this stuff. Is this a good buy? $40 for 3 legendaries and then some crystals? Like, I don't know. I have no idea. There's so many different resources, sales, prices, bundles, so many different things. Like, to me, this is just so annoying. So is the game loaded up with this junk? And is the company kind of showing its hand that they may end up, ultimately trying to be pretty greedy with this game? Yeah, I think that's like a reasonable, fair take. So, if you watch my videos, if you come back in a month or two, that may be my final conclusion also. I'm still not ready to get there yet because, and this is how I'm going to wrap up and sum up this video, is because you have to make that decision. You have to decide as a free-to-play player, how many like tier 1 competitive viable, like totally competitive, essentially best decks in the game, how many of those do you need to get for free, completely free as a free-to-play player? And then basically you feel happy with the monetization system and you accept the fact that you can't do everything in the game and play every deck, and you don't get to just choose like which class you want to play as well. Figure out what that number is for you. Post it down in the comments below. I guess I'm going to say for Shadowverse, like there's 7 classes. If I can play with 3 of the classes, then that's like absolutely totally sufficient, I think, as free-to-play player. But realistically, as long as you can play with 1, basically gives you, that full experience with the game. Again, beggars can't be choosers. And I think it's basically kind of reasonable. As long as you can play with 1 of the 7 fully and get the full experience, like they've essentially kind of given you the trial of the game for free, and you can decide if you want to support it. Now, that's really where the real problem's going to start, because then once you go to support it, then how much does it cost to actually get like the full experience of the game? And yep, that's probably where we're going to start having the real problems, y'all. So there's kind of like 2 issues. Like, can you play the game and fully enjoy it free to play, be able to pick like 1 or maybe even probably 2? I'm like 99% sure I'm going to get the full experience of like 2 of these classes just in the first month, getting 20 plus legendaries and all those vials plus the starter deck. Like Swordcraft is going to be one of them. I'm going to end up playing Swordcraft, and then I'll probably play a second one depending on what I get and open in all those packs. But then the question is like, how much do you have to spend to go from like 2 to like all 7, which I feel like you should be able to spend like $100 in a card game and be able to just get like the full experience. And this isn't like Grand Theft Auto. This isn't like a $1 billion developed game. I think we should have the reasonable expectation to be able to spend like, somewhere around $100 and basically get full experience of the game. Then plus these games change month to month. So y'all, I'm going to come back and revisit this. Let me know what you think of this kind of just conversation style format video, just kind of talking through what's going on in the game and, opening the packs together, watching the progress of this free-to-play account that I'm on. Any other free-to-play players out there, you might want to check out this channel. And all right, I've yapped enough, y'all. Let me know what you think in the comments. That's basically my take. I'm kind of right in the middle right now, to be honest. I think it's going to take about 2 to 3 months to really be sure of kind of how bad things are going to be monetization-wise. And so we'll revisit it. But in the meantime, the gameplay is absolutely fantastic. I'm absolutely loving the game. I'm like totally blown away. I didn't think I was going to really like it at all, to be honest. I had like super low expectations. I'm totally blown away, totally enjoying it. I'm definitely going to craft a couple tier 1 decks, at least 1, get to the highest rank free to play. I'm going to show you all how I do it all along the way on this channel if you want to watch. And all right, with that, I'll wrap up the video. See you all later.